is a mockingjay. We can read the back together. Oh, it's actually not in the back, but inside the front. Over there. My name is Katniss Everdeen. Who am I? Why am I not dead? I should be dead. Katniss Everdeen, girl on fire, has survived, even though her home has been destroyed. Gil has escaped. Katniss' family is safe. Peeta has been captured by the capital. District 13 really doesn't exist. There are rebels. There are new leaders. A revolution is unfolding. It is by design that Katniss was rescued from the arena in the cruel and haunting Gardequel, and it is by design that she has long been part of the revolution without knowing it. District 13 has come out of the shadows and it's plotting to overthrow the capital. Everyone, it seems, has a hand in the careful laid plans, except Katniss. The success of the rebellion hangs on Katniss' willingness to be born, to be accepted, responsibility for countless lives, and to change the course of the future of Panem. To do this, she must put aside her feelings of anger and distrust. She must become the rebels' mockingjay, no matter what the personal cost. I really like the sound of books. But let's just begin reading you to sleep. Just picture yourself the story. Imagine the words I'm saying, and then you can fall asleep quietly. I stare down at my shoes, watching as a fine layer of ash settled on the worn leather. This is where the bed I shared with my sister Prim stood. Over there was the kitchen table, the bricks of the chimney which collapsed in a shattered heap, provide a point of reference for the rest of the house. How else could I orient myself in the sea of grey? Almost nothing remains of District 12. A month ago, the capital's firebombs obliterated the poor coal miners' houses in the seam, the shops in the town, even the justice building. The only area that escaped incineration was the victor's village. I don't know why exactly. Perhaps so anyone forced to come here in capital business would have somewhere decent to stay. The odd reporter, a community assessing the condition of the coal mines, a squad of peacekeepers checking the returning refugees. But no one is returning except me, and that's only for a brief visit. The authorities in District 13 were against my coming back. They view this as a costly and pointless adventure, given that at least of a dozen invisible hovercraft are circling overhead my protection, and there is no intelligence to be gained. I had to see it though, so much so that I made it a condition of my cooperating with any of their plans. Finally, Plutarch Heavensby, the head game maker who had organized rebels in the capital, drew up his hands. Let her go. Better to waste a day than another month. Maybe a little tour of 12 is just what she needs to convince her we're on the same side. A pain stabs my left temple and I press my hands against it, right on the spot where Joanna Mason hit me with the coil of wire. The memories swirl as I try to sort out what is true and what is false. What series of events led me to be standing in the ruins of my city? This is so hard because the effects of the concussion she gave me haven't completely subsided, and my thoughts still have a tendency to jumble together. Also, the drugs they use to control my pain and mood sometimes makes me see things, I guess. I'm still not entirely convinced that I was hallucinating the night the floor of my hospital room transformed into a carpet of rotting snakes. I use a technique one of my doctors suggested. I start with the simplest thing I know to be true and work toward the more complicated. The list begins to roll in my head. My name is Katniss Everdeen. I am 17 years old. My home is District 12. I was in the Hunger Games. I escaped. The capital hates me. Peter was taken prisoner. He is thought to be dead. Most likely he is dead. It is probably best if he is dead. Katniss, should I come down? My best friend Gale's voice reaches me through the headset the rebels insisted I wear. He's up in a hovercraft, watching me carefully, ready to swoop in if anything goes amiss. I realize I'm crouched down now, elbows on my thighs. My head braced between my hands. I must look on the verge of some kind of breakdown. This won't do. Not when they're finally weaning me off the medication. I straighten up and wave his offer away. No, I'm fine. To reinforce this, I begin to move away from my old house and toward the town. Gale asked me to be dropped off in 12 with me, but he didn't force the issue when I refused his company. He understands I don't want anyone with me today, not even him. Some walks you have to take alone. The summer's been scorching hot and dry as a bone. There's been next to no rain to describe the piles of ash left by the attack. They swift here and there in a reaction to my footsteps. No breeze to scatter them. I keep my eyes on what I remember as the road, because when I first landed in the meadow, I wasn't careful and I walked right into a rock. Only it wasn't a rock. It was someone's skull. It rolled over and lanced face up, and for a long time I couldn't stop looking at the teeth, wondering whose they were, thinking of how mine would probably look the same way under similar circumstances. I stick to the road out of habit, but it's a bad choice because it's full of the remains of those who tried to flee. Some were incinerated entirely, but others, probably overcome with smoke, escaped the worst of the flames and now lie reeking in various states of decomposition, carrion for scavengers, blanket by flies. I killed you, I think, as I pass a pile, and you, because I did. It was my arrow aimed at a chink in the force field surrounding the areas that brought on this managed for 3 days, and that's why the hovercraft unexpectedly arrived to evacuate them to District 13, where there were more than enough clean, white living compartments, plenty of clothing, and 3 meals a day. The compartments had the disadvantage of being underground. The clothing was identical and the food was relatively tasteless, but for the refugees of 12, these were minor considerations. They were safe. They were being cared for. They were alive and enthusiasm was interpreted as kindness, but a man named Dalton, a District 10 refugee who'd made it to 13 on a foot a few years ago, leaked the real motive to me. They need you. Me. They need olives. A while back there was some sort of bugs epidemic that killed a bunch of them and left a lot more infertile. New breeding stock, that's how they see us. Back in 10, he'd worked on one of the beef ranches, maintaining the genetic diversity of the herd with the implantation of long frozen cow embryos. He's very likely right about 13, because there don't seem to be nearly enough kids around. But so what? We're not being kept in pens. We're being trained for work. The children are being educated. Those over 14 have been given entry levels, ranks in the military, and are addressed respectfully as soldier. Every single refugee has granted autonomic citizenship by the authorities of 13. Still, I hate them, but of course I hate almost everybody now. Myself more than everyone. The surface beneath my feet hardens, and under the carpet of ash I feel the paving stones of the square. Around the perimeter is a shallow border of refuse where the shop stood. A head of blackened rubble has replaced the Justice building. I walk to the approximate side of the bakery Peter's family owned. Nothing much left but the melted lump of the oven. Peter's parents, his two old brothers, none of them made it to 13. Fewer than a dozen of what passed for District 12's well-to-do escaped the fire. Peter would have nothing to come home to anyway, except me. I back away from the bakery and bump into something, lose my balance, and find myself sitting on a hunk of sun-heated metal. I puzzle over what it might have been, then remember Thread's recent renovations of the square. Stocks whipping past, and this, the remains of the gallows. Bad. This is bad. It brings on a flood of images that torments me, awake or asleep. Peter being tortured, drowned, burned, lacerated, shocked, maimed, beaten, as the capital tries to get information about the rebellion that he doesn't know. I squeeze my eyes shut and try to reach for him across the hundreds and hundreds of miles to send my thoughts into his mind, to let him know that he's not alone. But he is, and I can't help him. Running away from the square and to the one place that fire did not destroy, I passed wreckage of the major's house where my friend Madge lived. No word of her or her family, where they evacuated to the capital because of her father's position, or left to the flameless. Ashes billow up around me, and I pull them, the hem of my shirt up over my mouth. It's not wondering that I breathe, but now. The grass has been scorched, and the grey snow fell here as well, but the 12 fine houses of the victor's village are unsketched. I bolt into the house I lived in for the past year, slammed the door closed, and leaned back against it. The place seems untouched, clean, eerily quiet. Why did I come back to 12? How can the visit help me answer the question I can't escape? What am I going to do? I whisper to the walls, because I really don't know. People keep talking at me, talking. Bloodarch Heavensby, his calculating assistant Fulvia Gerdrew, a mishmash of district leaders, military officials, but now Alma Coyne, the president of 13, who just watched. She's 50 or so, with grey hair that falls in an unbroken sheet to her shoulders. I'm somewhat fascinated by her hair, since it's so uniform, so without a flaw, a wisp, even a split end. Her Their eyes are grey, but not like those of people from the sea. They're very pale, as if almost all the color has been sucked out of them. The color of slush that you wish you would melt away. What they want is for me to truly take on the role they designed for me, the symbol of the revolution, the mockingjay. It isn't enough what I've done in the past, defying the capital in the games, providing a rallying point. It must now become the actual leader, the face, the voice, the embodiment of the revolution, the person who the districts, most of which are now open at war with the capital, can count on to blaze the path to victory. I won't have to do it alone. They have a whole team of people to make me over, dress me, write me speeches, orchestrate my appearance, as if that doesn't sound horrible, familiar, and I have to do this and play my part. Sometimes I listen to them, and sometimes I just watch the preferred line, Coin's hair, and try to decide if it's a wig. Eventually, I leave the room because my head starts to ache, or it's time to eat, or if I don't get above ground, I might start screaming. I don't bother to stay anyway. I simply get up and walk out. Yesterday afternoon, as the door was closing behind me, I heard Coin say, "I told you we should have rescued the boy first," meaning Peter. I couldn't agree more. He would have been an excellent mouthpiece. And who did they fish out of the area instead? Me, who won't cooperate. Petey, an older inventor from 3, who I rarely see because he was pulled into weapons development the minute he could sit upright. Literally, they wheeled his hospital bed into some top secret area, and now he only occasionally shows up for meals. He's very smart and very willing to help the cause, but not really firebrand material. Then there's Finnick Oder, the sex symbol from the fishing district, who kept Peter alive in the arena when I couldn't. They want to transform Finnick into a rebel leader as well, but first they'll have to get him to stay awake for more than 5 minutes. Even when he's conscious, you have to say everything to him 3 times to get through his brain. The doctors say it's from an electrical shock he received in the arena, but I know it's a lot more complicated than that.